Steam, the platform that defined digital PC gaming, the place where millions of players buy their favorite games, download them, and connect with friends. But what happens when the company behind that, Valve, gets sued for nearly £656 million by its own users? Today we're going to look at the Steam lawsuit, how it came to be, what it alleges, and why it matters not just for gamers but for the entire digital market. When you think of buying games on PC, there's one name that towers above the rest: Steam. It's been around for nearly 2 decades, and over that time it has become the central hub for PC gamers worldwide. But now, in 2026, Steam finds itself at the center of a massive legal battle in the United Kingdom that could force it to pay out hundreds of millions of pounds and essentially change how digital marketplaces operate forever. The lawsuit was filed in June 2024 by a UK digital rights campaigner named Vicky Shotbolt on behalf of the estimated 14 million PC gamers in the UK who have purchased games and add-on content like DLCs through Steam since 2018. At its core, the claim is that Valve used its dominant position in the PC gaming marketplace to put in place anti-competitive practices that kept prices high and locked gamers and game developers alike into Steam's ecosystem. According to the claim, Valve did several things that the lawsuit describes as unfair. First, although Steam operates on one of the largest digital game stores in the world, the lawsuit alleges that Valve used their dominance to impose conditions on game publishers and developers that restricted competition. These conditions reportedly prevent other marketplaces from offering cheaper prices or earlier access to games and add-ons. In other words, if a publisher wanted their game on Steam, which almost all of them do because it's a massive user base, they weren't allowed to undercut Steam's pricing elsewhere. On top of that, the lawsuit says that when a gamer buys a game on Steam, whether it's a major AAA title or a small indie release, they are forced to buy the game's additional content through Steam as well. That means downloadable content, expansions, and add-ons all have to be bought through the Steam store, eliminating cheaper options outside the ecosystem. And because Valve charges a commission of up to 30% on game sales, which has been the industry standard for years, the claim argues gamers ultimately pay more for games now than they would have in a truly competitive market. Critics of the lawsuit argue that Steam's commission rate isn't unique. Many other digital storefronts like console stores and mobile app stores also take around 30%, but the lawsuit isn't just about a fee, it's about how Valve's business model may have limited competition. If developers couldn't sell cheaper elsewhere, then there's no real chance for consumers to benefit from competition that could have driven prices down. But Valve didn't go quietly on this. The company argued that the lawsuit shouldn't ever be allowed to proceed, saying the claim lacked sufficient legal grounding. But in January 2026, the UK's Competition Appeal Tribunal rejected Valve's bid to dismiss the case at an early stage, allowing the collective action to continue toward full legal proceedings. This wasn't just a small procedural victory, it was a significant step. The tribunal ruled that the allegations satisfied the legal requirements to be examined in court, meaning the case will now move forward and Valve will have to defend its business practices under scrutiny. But why does this matter? For starters, if the claim is successful, Valve could be ordered to pay up to £656 million in damage. That's almost $900 million US. And individual UK gamers might see payouts in the range of £22 to £44 each, depending on how much they spent on Steam purchases during the period covered. But beyond money, this lawsuit could set legal precedents for how large digital marketplace operates. Steam isn't the only platform under scrutiny worldwide. Regulators in many regions, including Europe and the United States, have been increasingly concerned about how dominant digital platforms exert control over markets, and whether that control stifles competition. Interestingly, this UK lawsuit isn't the only legal challenge Valve has ever faced. In the United States, developers sued Valve years earlier, alleging similar antitrust issues related to revenue cuts and market dominance. That case has also been making its way through the courts, with mixed results, with much debate in the gaming community. And in 2024, Valve even changed its Steam subscriber agreement to remove mandatory arbitration clauses, meaning disputes like this one can now be taken to court rather than being forced into arbitration, a move that opened the door for class action style litigation that might otherwise have been harder to bring. What surprised me the most on this is that the gaming community is divided. Some gamers believe this lawsuit could finally force Steam to lower prices, boost competition, and allow smaller storefronts to flourish. Others argue that Steam's dominance exists because gamers choose convenience and features, not because of anti-competitive behavior. Reddit threads and forums light up with hot takes from both sides. Some opponents calling this lawsuit unfounded, others saying Valve's practice deserved this. Interestingly, Epic Games, and especially its founder, CEO Tim Sweeney, have been very vocal about the antitrust lawsuit currently targeting Steam in the UK. Interestingly, Epic Games, and especially its founder and CEO Tim Sweeney, had been very vocal about the antitrust lawsuit currently targeting Valve's platform Steam in the UK. As the case gained public attention and was certified to proceed, Sweeney publicly expressed his support for the legal challenge, criticizing some of Steam's core business practices that are also at the heart of the lawsuit. Sweeney's comments focused on a few key points. He argued that Steam's requirements around in-game purchases and commissions were unfair and outdated, calling Valve the only major store still holding onto the payments tie and 30% junk fee, and likening Steam's restrictions on how developers sell add-ons to a car dealership demanding 30% of gas purchases. In his messages, often made on social media platforms like X, Sweeney specifically singled out how Steam forces developers to use Steam's own payment system for in-game and DLC transactions, which then subjects those transactions to Valve's 30% revenue cut. He described this practice as one of that courts have found illegal in other contexts, such as Apple's and Google antitrust fights, and suggests that those same principles should apply to Steam's policy as well. At the end of the day, this isn't just a lawsuit about game prices on Steam. It's about how digital economies work in an era where a handful of platforms dominate a huge global market. It's about whether companies can use that dominance to maintain that power forever, or whether competition law can keep those ecosystems fair for consumers and developers alike. The legal battles are just beginning for Valve, and the outcome may take years to resolve. But one thing is clear: millions of gamers in the UK and potentially many more around the world are watching closely, because this could change the way we all buy and play our games. Alright, this is the end of my short little rambling video about this new lawsuit against Steam, and I'm absolutely not for that, alright? If Epic Games and Tim Sweeney are saying, no, people should come to my platform, no, why is no one cares about Epic? Let's be real. You only go on Epic because you want the free game every single week. No one goes on Epic to say, I need to play some games. No one does that, except for Fortnite. Alright, Fortnite is okay. That's the only reason one says, let's go on Epic. No, if Fortnite were on Steam, no one would even think about the Epic Game Store. You could create a bot that grabs the game that releases the free game that they release. But otherwise, I have no idea what this lawsuit even wants. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I absolutely liked doing this. I liked doing the research for that. So I hope you enjoyed this as well. I'm definitely going to be making more of these. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye!